Hello, my lovely butterfly. Welcome to Butterfly Dreams. And hello, follicular phase. I just got over my menstrual cycle. I know TMI, but whatevs. We're family here. And so I just got over my menstrual cycle, aka my moon, and I'm feeling radiant, happy, excited. All of the happy hormones, juju. By the way, my son is home with me this week, so you might hear some noises in the background. But I sort of just wanted to sit down and talk and kind of share what this entire year has been like, checking in. I'm going to call this a brain dump vlog. Whatever comes to mind. I don't really have a script, though I do have some notes because there's some topics that I want to touch on and I don't want to forget. But other than that, I'm just gonna kind of spill my heart and soul on here and share with you a different array of topics, things that have been on my mind that I have been wanting to share with you. And welcome, all of my new subscribers. I know that over the past few months, I have new butterflies in this garden. So welcome. And of course, much love to my OGs that have been here, for a while with me on this journey. All right. So where do I start? There's so much I want to share. Well, okay. So I'm definitely feeling the happy hormones, as I had stated before. As I'm nearing the end of year, I usually like to take inventory of all the moments and what the year has entailed. And my word of the year for this year was coherence. And there's something about setting a word for the year. It really does kind of set the whole tone for the year. That's what I feel. I've had different words for the past years. I think I've had thrive. I don't remember what the other ones were right now, but I always feel like my path during that year aligns and I can see the power of words and how they really do something to your psyche when you set that intention with a specific word. So, anyways, I feel like my year definitely has been aligned with my word of the year. I definitely feel a sense of mind and heart coherence finally in my life. I always felt like there was some sort of a dissonance between my heart and my mind. And I've always felt like there was some sort of disconnect between my heart and my mind. And now I finally feel like I've arrived at a place where both have finally converged and I'm at a place where I feel whole. And Carl Jung actually talks about this in the process of individuation, which I've been reading a lot about Carl Jung. And see, the thing about my channel is I wish I was more consistent and I always set that as a goal, but I find it very hard to niche down. And I've talked about this before. That has been my problem since day one. And I just don't. I'm like a box full of surprises, right? I'm into so many things. I'm a multi passionate creative woman and I have many areas of interest. For example, right now I've been reading a lot about Carl Jung's psychology, quantum physics, Gnosticism, spirituality, just so many things that I love to I love knowledge and I love to constantly learn and I love to constantly, especially now that we have knowledge at our fingertips. I feel like whoever is ignorant right now is because they just don't care. Because right now we have the ability to really know anything and everything. And what a great time to be alive, truly. So I just find it really hard to stay consistent on here. I wish I could. I really, wanted to kind of merge spirituality with self healing and art because all of that goes together so well. It's like the perfect marriage. And it has helped me on my personal journey. So I know the power of art, the power of transformation, mindset shift. So I just it's hard for me, and I know that I think I've arrived to a point where I'm just like, all right, this is who I am. I think my channel somehow has transformed into my artist diary, like my path. And like if you see the very first videos, like I don't know what I was doing. Then started doing I think hauls, and I don't know, just trying different things. But what I will tell you about all this, in the middle of like trying different things and putting them out there, one, it really helped me with my self concept and my self confidence to really get on here on camera and, speak and try to, follow a train of thought and project your voice. Like all of that really helped me essentially with my self concept and my self confidence. Like, when I would have to edit these videos, I would have to look at myself. And so I would sit there sometimes judging myself, but I learned to just put myself out there, and somehow people resonated with it. And now I know I don't have millions of followers, but I feel like I have made like a solid community, and I have a good amount of people that actually find interest in what I have to say. When I did this, I was like, oh, no one cares. But I did it anyways because I just felt this really strong calling to do this. I felt like it was going to help me. Somehow I knew this. And so YouTube has been great for that. And I'm not great with like being consistent or keeping up with the algorithm or keeping up with trends. So I feel like back to my main point, I want to make this channel more like my artist diary or my personal diary, where I just share little bits and pieces. And I know this is not going to help my channel grow very rapidly. But at the end of the day, I'm like, is that even that relevant to me? At the beginning, I remember thinking like, I'm going to be this I don't know, whatever, influencer and whatnot, and I thought it could be a viable source of income, which it can be, but it takes a lot to grow and you have to be more consistent and whatnot. So I feel like eventually I'll get there, but I'm just not there, and I'm okay with where I'm at right now. I have really focused over the past 12 years, have been really profound interior evolution, really profound self healing and shadow work, and just reevaluating and regrouping, still making, mistakes. And I say that in air quotes because really mistakes are just, missteps that we need in order for us to grow. So at the end of the day, they're still part of the grand plan. They're still valid in our evolution. I'm probably going to say that word a lot, so just bear with me. But I'm so much about that. If you know anything about me, you know that that's kind of like my wheelhouse. And so where was I? So I I just find it a little difficult to niche down, and I think I stump. I'm feeling a little hot. That's why I'm being fussy with my hair. But I'm finding it hard. I think YouTube finds it hard to niche down with me and like figure out like what is this woman doing? She's doing hauls, she's doing art, she's doing vlogs, like. But I do appreciate those of you who have stuck around and find value in what I have to say. Now, now that I've gotten that out of the way, so this year, looking back on my year, it has been a year of supreme healing for me. I finally feel that I've arrived at a place of inner peace. I finally feel whole and complete in myself. I've developed a sense of self-love, which is radical for me because for many years I was stuck in a loop of self-hatred and self-loathing and just all these yucky feelings, depression as well. But I will tell you that for me, crisis, heartbreak, depression have been a huge catalyst in my life. They have been the fuel that have helped me come into my own. So nowadays, like when I see someone in crisis, or even you, if you're going through something where you feel like you're breaking apart, let me tell you that that is actually good news. That this this can either make you or break you, and you decide how you want to live this through. I feel like if you're in a crisis, be happy because your life is going to change for the better. If that's what you if you decide to take the horns by the bull by the horns and take the reins of the horse, so to speak, you can make you can use this crisis, grief, heartbreak as fertilizer for your rebirth, for you to bloom again. And that's exactly what I've done along all my life. Without being too much, without trauma dumping too much, I should say. I always like to give context for what I've been through so that you can find inspiration and see that there are no limits. The limits only exist in our mind. That's why mindset is so important. And I realize that now that I'm 43, but if you're younger and you're watching this video, let me tell you that your self concept, your mindset are like the most precious things that you can work on that are really gonna then you're going to see that in your reality. As Dr. Joe Dispenza says, your personality becomes your personal reality. The Hermetic principles, the law of correspondence says, as within, so without, as above, so below. So, I mean, we've been told this by so many different philosophies and even religion to a certain extent has told us that the work is inside. Be the change you wish to see. So this year has just been tremendous amount of healing. Actually, I decided to take sort of like this healing sabbatical, even though obviously I'm still working and whatnot. But I work from home most days, and I really get to be a loner. I've become very hermit mode this year. I really separated myself from most of social media. I have my Instagram's accounts, but I'm not really active on there. I tried to open a TikTok this year, but I realized it's just not for me, so I decided to close it. And Facebook, I got rid of that like 10 years ago, and honestly, I've never been happier. I also decided from a while ago, even before the pandemic, that I wasn't going to watch any news or anything negative. Like, if I'm trying to overhaul my life, watching consistent dread and doom is not going to help me regulate my nervous system. It's just contraindicative, right? I think that's the word, right? But you catch my drift. So I try to focus because where you put your energy, where you put your attention, your energy goes. I think that's how the saying goes. Essentially, wherever you focus on, that's what grows in your life. If you focus on poverty, lack, sadness, that's what you're going to continue seeing and being projected out in your exterior reality. It took me years to figure this out. I'm like, no wonder for so many years I was stuck in the same feedback loop, in the same patterns of, failed relationships, depression, sadness, lack of money, all of these things where I was just like, why? And then I realized that how can I expect a different result if I kept doing the same things? Like, that's madness until it finally clicked. Like, girl, get your act together. You can't expect different results if you keep doing the same things. And when that clicked, I started making real radical changes. I decided to really learn. I was going to when I was living in New Jersey. So 4 years ago, I moved to Miami, Florida from New Jersey right after the pandemic. I was just done with the winters. I was done with like just the whole culture up there. Like sometimes a change in demographics really can do a number for your mental health. I needed sunshine. I needed flowers. I needed greenery. I needed, like life. Over there, most of the year is gloomy. The weather doesn't help. Your vitamin D levels are usually very low. So I just didn't feel like it was conducive to my life, to the type of life I was trying to create. So I moved here, and honestly, that was such I love that I did that. Like I feel like I've achieved so much more in 4 years than I have, but it's because my mindset has shifted, and having a new place to to kind of grow where I don't really know anyone, and focus just solely on me and my personal growth has really helped that whole situation. And I don't remember what my original point, but in any case, I'm just gonna speak as it comes, so bear with me. So I did attain a an associate degree in art. I think a little bit over a year ago or something. So now in January, I'm going back to get my bachelor in art. So I'm feeling a little nervous. It's definitely it's a bigger university. And I always dreamed of going to a university. That's always been something that I wanted to do. And I wanted to do it straight out of high school. I went for a year for interior design, and I didn't really have a support system. Unfortunately for me, my parents have never been figures. Like, for example, my father didn't even give me a last name. I didn't grow up close to him. And so, yeah, I don't have a dad, so to speak, in that sense. Obviously, I have a dad because I'm here, but it's just I didn't have a present father. I didn't have a father figure. And then my mom was emotionally absent. She was going through her own things and dealing with her own demons. And now I understand, like, I see her from a place of compassion instead of judgment. It took me so long to get here, but I am here finally. That everyone's operating from their level of consciousness, and you really can't expect more than that. I've been working I've been doing a course in miracles, and if you don't know, look into it. Like it's kind of hard to explain, but it's basically this huge workbook. It's just like this. I've been doing it with ChatGPT, so I've been doing it the lazy woman's method, but it has worked for me. So if you care to try it, go ahead. Like each day, I'll ask it, "What's the lesson for today?" and it'll summarize it for me, because the language in the book can be a little bit confusing, and it's a little bit I don't know. It tends to be too confusing. I feel personally, and the linguistics in it is just, I don't know, a little bit complex. I feel, but anyway. So now I do it with ChatGPT, and it's customized for me, and that honestly has helped me shift my perception of people, of my life, and the role that I play, and how literally everyone is just trying their best from their level of consciousness, and there's not really much more we can ask. So I definitely have developed a great sense of compassion for, especially for my mom. For many years I was angry and I resented her. So yeah, going back to my original point, I wanted to go to college right after high school, but it was just not possible. I didn't have a support system. Like I didn't really know my mother is an immigrant from Nicaragua, so she really didn't even know how college works, and so I found myself kind of floating in the abyss. I honestly felt like for my whole life I was an orphan, because I just didn't have stable parental figures, and that's a fact. And so I really resented that, and I was like so angry for so many years, because I'm like, I know the potential I have. I was always a bright student. I was always top of the class. I feel like I could have gone to an Ivy League school, and I could have done so much there, but alas, I feel like now I'm at a point where like even that was perfect. And I feel like going to school now in my 40s, like I really know who I am as a person. Like I see all these young kids, and I sometimes feel bad because they're so lost, especially now with social media and the culture. I feel like there isn't a better time that I could have gone to college than now, honestly. I know who I am. I'm a complete woman. I know where I'm headed. I eventually want to get a master's in art therapy. I just I truly am grateful. Like this has been my journey. I didn't see it then. Obviously, I was so consumed in my lack mentality and depression. That's why it's so important not to label or identify yourself with something so profoundly, because that becomes your identity, and your identity becomes your reality. That's why if you think all the time I'm depressed, it's not to bypass it. It's more like, okay, it's there, let me tackle it, but it's not you completely. Who you are, it's much more expansive than that. And that's something that I've also come to understand because I had a really profound mystical experience last December where I tapped into something so great that I don't even have words for. But essentially, I know who I am. I know that I am a spark of the divine. I know that I am a spirit having a physical experience, though I'm not this physical body. I'm the awareness that exists here. This body is just an avatar, a spacesuit to expand my consciousness while I'm on earth. Really, being on earth is like the ultimate school. And you experience contrast, we experience heartache, pain, love, hate, all and everything in between. And really that helps expand our consciousness to levels we can't even imagine. So for me, I guess I've always understood the lesson, even though it wasn't very clear till now, but like I've always understood, like I've had this sense where like I didn't want to accumulate things. Like I felt like I knew in my heart of hearts that I was here to do something greater, that I was here for a purpose that wasn't money per se, that wasn't things. And now I get why, because my psyche knew that I had a plan. Like there was a reason for me to be here, and it was to expand my consciousness and keep it, and to keep expanding it as much as possible, to revel in joy, to revel in happiness. That is our inheritance from source. Happiness, joy, bliss, that is our natural state of being. Though when we come into this world, when we materialize, somebody's cutting the grass. I hope you don't hear that too much. But anyways, when we materialize into this 3D world, we forget why we're here and where we come from. And our job is to remember. And luckily, I feel like we are experiencing a massive shift in consciousness. I don't know if you feel it. Let me know if you do in the comments. But I know that I've been following other people here on YouTube. So while I did do away with all my social media, I still kept YouTube because I feel like I enjoy the long form content. I have found amazing podcasts for spiritual work, for inner work, shadow work, all of the above. And there's like these little niche communities that I don't see in like the fast content market. Like I feel like TikTok and Instagram lends itself to just mindlessly scroll, and I'm just not there anymore. I also feel like they're heavy like marketing scams. I don't know, like they really hijack your consciousness. It There's a lot of comparison, consumerism, people trying to get you to buy this. I'm like, I wish I could just exist in a world where somebody isn't trying to sell me something. I feel like if it's not a course, it's I mean, I get that we all need to live somehow, some way, and this is probably the new economy. But like sometimes I just want to consume wholesome content and just take away something precious that money can't buy, and go on with my life. That's how I feel. Though I know eventually, like, I do want to also offer workshops and whatnot, but you know that's why we have free will and whatnot. So I don't know where I was at. Where was I know that I was talking about social media and consumerism. Okay, well, while I'm there was a point in my channel where I was doing Dollar Tree hauls and I think craft hauls and all this stuff. And while it was fun, I did realize that that's just not where I want to go. Like, I don't want you to come here and think that you're lacking something or that you need to buy things and then, get consumed with all of that. That's just not it. I feel like looking back on like Dollar Tree haul, though, I left everything there because I want you to visually see like my growth. Looking back on those Dollar Tree hauls, I'm just like, I was buying all this junk for what? Like, I don't even have half of the stuff that I hauled. And like, even when I moved, I had to get rid of so much. And I'm like, so I've really made it an intention, like whatever comes to my house has to have a purpose, if not two purposes, that I can use in alternate ways. I've been really intentional about how I spend money because obviously I also want to heal the lack mentality that has been a transgenerational, I guess, curse, you can say, in my lineage. So I've been really actively healing that part and rewiring my beliefs, the limiting beliefs around money and how money flows. Life is so perfect that I you won't believe it, but I work for a financial advisor, something that I never thought and ever that I would end up doing. I assist a financial advisor, and while working with him, I have learned so much about how money works. Like it's basically just a game. Money is just energy. And I've been reading books about money and things, and while money is just a tool, I understand, because for me it was like I didn't resonate. Like I'm like, oh, I just see, like I don't see the point. Like I see people literally killing themselves over something, a piece of paper, fiat currency, which means there's no commodity to back it up. Like it's just that we collectively decided that money has value, and that's why it has value. The minute that it loses its chokehold on us, that illusion dismantles, which, we kind of seeing that playing out right now. We're kind of seeing that playing out right now. And so, excuse me. Woo. Um, yeah, so I just had like this, like, um, how should I say? I'm not even sure how to verbalize it, but I almost felt like I didn't know how to relate to money. On one hand, I grew up in a dysfunctional home in poverty, and I saw my mom struggling and always feeling lack. And then on the other side, when I started studying metaphysics and the hermetic principles and everything, I realized that there's another way to exist. So it was like those two worlds kept clashing. And I really, truly, this year, especially upon working with a financial advisor and understanding how money works in this country, how globally it works, I started to understand more, and I'm glad that I'm in this space, because it was like that final thing that I needed to completely understand, like, where I stand and how to make money flow in my life. Um, so I think that also has been a blessing in itself. And the way that I stumbled upon this job was also a blessing. It was a synchronicity, which is a meaningful coincidence. And now that I look back on my life, I realize that that life has always been on my side. My whole life, I thought I was alone, remember, because I didn't have a strong foundation. I didn't have parents that cared for me per se. So I feel like I felt alone and an orphan, but really now I realize I've never been alone. There's always been the spark of the divine in me, that, call it God, call it the universe, call it source, creator, whatever you call it, doesn't the name doesn't even matter. But I know that there has always been, I've never been alone, essentially. And that has been something that has comforted me so much, because my whole life I felt so alone, and I kept going into relationships looking for someone to complete me, which is totally toxic, obviously, and it's never going to work. um I just wanted somebody to stay, somebody to choose me. And I always found myself that I was the one always begging for crumbs and begging for someone to love me, see me, pick me. Um, because I was so empty, because I wanted someone to save me from myself. And that's never going to be humanly possible. You have to do your own work, truly. You have to become whole, and just from there, one becomes magnetic. And so now I understand all that from this side. And, like, I went through hell and back, literally. This last heartbreak that I had was so profound that it was like the final straw that broke the camel's back. And that is what really, really, really just did me in. Like, I was just like, all right, either I'm out of here. I really, truly thought that. Or I make something fucking beautiful with this. And excuse my French, but it's just that that's how powerful it was, at that moment where, like, you hit rock bottom, and you're like, all right, I'm already eating shit. Like, what else? Like, what's left? And so I decided that, okay, I'm going to reconstruct myself now the way that I want to. So it was, yeah, it was a huge catalyst for me. And I've arrived at a place, like, I know that when I was going through it initially, I was just like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I'm just, like, this life is madness. Like this is it. Like I've been trying so hard all these years. And so for those of you that maybe have been doing shadow work or inner healing, it's not linear, you know. It takes time. There's layers and trauma release and a shift in perception, a shift in beliefs, and letting go of all you thought you were, and ego dissolution. And it's hard, it's painful. Like I keep thinking of the butterfly, you know, when it's in the chrysalis, it becomes goo, it becomes nothing. And so I felt like that's where I was at. Like I was literally at that stage where I was just disintegrating, like just dissolving into nothing. And I was in the void, and I was just like, wow, what is happening? Like I thought I was gonna die. And I realized no, I was being reborn to the person I've been aspiring to be all these years, all that hard work, all the self help and healing and retreats and meditations and whatnot have helped me. When I had my mystical experience last December, it was after months of doing conscious breathing. And now I've been doing that consistently. I love conscious breathing. I used to be very resistant, but the ego resists change, right? Just stick through it, whether it's meditation or conscious breathing. I love conscious breathing. Cold plunging is something I started to do too. That also is like a great nervous system reset, which I needed at that point in my life. See, life kept giving me what I needed when I needed it. Like life is so loving to me. And now that I see that clearly, because I've shifted the lens or the aperture, I know that life has always been on my side, and I feel completely and supremely loved, guided, and supported. And you are too. We're just so consumed with the illusion of the 3D material world that we can't see beyond the masks sometimes. But I promise you, once you connect to your spirit, that's why Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within. And without being, super religious or anything, has nothing to do with that. Jesus' teachings were basically metaphysical teachings. And so I've been reading into even the banned books of the Bible and the Gnostic scriptures and whatnot. I highly recommend if you want to learn more, if you're thirsty about actual knowledge, the things that wasn't really truly revealed to us. There's so much more to that story. But the kingdom of heaven is within, and now I understand that. And even Carl Jung said it in another way. Like I feel like all these great minds have been saying it in different forms, and now I'm like, I finally made all the connections, and it's just like like my world has opened up. Carl Jung says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it destiny. He's essentially saying like you cannot shift your life or your perception, which is also what A Course in Miracles says. It constantly brings us back to forgiveness, and they describe forgiveness as a shift in perception, wanting to see each situation through the eyes of God, which is love. Love is the only real truth. That's the only absolute truth that exists by far. Like I know that. After my mystical experience, though, just briefly, because that needs a video on its own, but I feel a great sense of oneness, of unity, of compassion for others. I feel a sense of completeness. I feel like I lack nothing. I think some people are calling this like a 5D ascension. Whatever. I don't like to label things. I just know that what I experienced was real. And a lot of people are around the world are saying that they're experiencing like a shift in perception, which is magnificent, because we collectively create this reality that we see. Like whatever we see projected in the world, that has to do with our collective unconscious, which is what Carl Jung also talked about. By the way, I've been reading a lot about Jungian psychology, and I really love it. I feel like he tapped into something magnificent, and I don't think he gets all the credit that he deserves. This man was way ahead of everything, and I resonate truly with everything that he says, because also he understood that there was a connection between art and psychology. And if you really want to get to know yourself, which is something that I did during the pandemic, I did expressive arts workshops. And I look back and I realized that, wow, I was onto something. Like whatever I wrote, whatever I drew, whatever I made during those expressive arts workshops was really revealing things about my psyche and about what was to come, and about my healing journey and whatnot. I look back and I'm just like, wow, like I knew all along. Like your higher self really does know. It's leaving you breadcrumbs along the way for you to achieve your maximum potential as the spirit that you are. So seeing that has definitely cemented the idea that art and psychology are the perfect marriage. And I feel like as many changes are coming for Earth, because there is a big, massive, global, universal shift happening, that the healing arts are going to become very popular. I see that now, like frequency modalities, art as therapy, because we just realized talking therapy doesn't really do it. We need a little bit more than that. And I found personally how the art therapy helped me navigate certain parts of my life. And even now, like, I come back to my art. I'm doing acrylic paintings, I'm doing watercolor lately. It's just an expression of my spirit. Creativity is essentially that. Like, we are all naturally creative beings. We are here to create beauty in the world. That's our only job, really, to create beauty and be happy, live in joy and bliss. That's all spirit wants for us ultimately. And we're so confused. But I think, just touching briefly back on the consumerism part, I felt like when I was doing those videos, there was a point in my evolution where I was just like, I don't think I want to incentivize people to go and spend and look for, to fill the void with junk and whatnot. So I've also become intentional with how I spend. And so now I'm just like, okay, it only comes into my house if it's something I really, really want. I've thought about it. It's not an impulsive thing. I don't really go to Dollar Tree anymore. And for as far as my craft supplies, I think I have enough craft supplies, though an artist always wants to dabble in all the new stuff or whatever. But I have made it an intention, and I have actually, ever since I set that intention maybe 3 years ago or so, of using what I have, I've been really good at it. And so I only make sure that whatever I buy, as far as art supplies, even, like, it's something that I'm really going to use, and, push myself to use it. And I've been really enjoying that. I really have been enjoying creating art. Like, instead of buying things and buying supplies, like, creating. Just create. I highly encourage you, if you do that, to just create, and you're going to see a massive shift in how you feel and how you carry yourself. So yeah, so I realized, like, I don't want to sit here and sell you a bunch of things. I think that's why I don't really ever want to consider myself an influencer, because I don't want to influence you to do anything. I feel like you have the free will to take away whatever you need from this. Ooh, without me being super pushy or trying to, like, I feel like overall, somebody that influences you really, truly, at the end of the day, should influence you to be sovereign, should influence you to take agency over your own life. I feel like ultimately that's what a true leader, a true healer or guru, like, is, that person teaches you how you heal yourself, or how you can become whole on your own. The minute that you have to depend on somebody else, I feel like you're giving your power away. And that is not natural at all. We are meant to, carry our own baggage. We are meant to deal with our own demons, our own shadow work. And once you take care of your inside, the outside will reflect that. Because the individual work, don't think that it goes unnoticed. Even Carl Jung said it. Individuation is so important, which is like basically the marriage of opposites in your inside. He called it the masculine and the feminine. I feel like It's also alluding to like masculine and feminine. The mind is masculine and the emotions, which is the heart, is feminine. Once you join those two, you do eventually, you do reach a point in your life where like your work affects the whole. I think here we've been brainwashed to believe that we're all separate and that there's like some type of competition, but that's silly. We're all one family from the one source. It's like the beehive, they work together for the queen, right? And the queen gives them honey. I feel like it's the same scenario for humans. If we work together, if you see the ants, they're also working together, right? For the greater good of the whole. We need to learn from those creatures. They're way ahead of us. Like, we think they're insignificant, but they are teaching us this lesson of unity. If we come together as a people and we refuse to accept any separation or any sense of hatred for the other, we realize that when we come together, we can do magnificent things. That's why, the powers that be revel in keeping us separated and keeping us in fear and telling us that the enemy is out there, which is not true. There's nothing out there. The Course in Miracles teaches me that. A Course in Miracles is teaching me that there's nothing that can attack your wholeness. There's nothing that can attack love. There's nothing that can attack light. It's all in here. So I really don't feel fear of anything. I feel like the world could crumble around me, and I am so centered in who I am that nothing can shake me. And imagine if we all did that. What a wonderful world it would be. And imagine if we collectively came together as one people and, harnessed joy, harnessed bliss, harnessed whatever qualities we want to see in the world. I think most of us are kind of tired of the same scenarios, wars, drought, famine, suffering, disease. Once we all achieve like a really great level of collective unity, we will see the world shift. And I feel like we are there. I feel like we are there. I feel it in my heart of hearts. I've talked to other people who kind of resonate with me, and they're feeling like this change too. That's why it's so important, especially now, to focus on your inner kingdom, meditate, art, any mindful art that can keep you centered, and forget about the propaganda, forget about what the news is saying, forget about all that. Don't even focus your consciousness there, because it's just going to hijack your mind, and you're going to feel anxious, and you're going to feel sad, and you're going to feel despair. It's not something you can change. But what can you change? You can change yourself. You can change how you look at things. You can change your perception. You can change. This is all you have really control of. So that's why they say, be the change you wish to see. I have to reiterate that, but it's so true, and I've seen it firsthand. Let me see. Oh, I wanted to touch. Damn, this video is already 43. Okay, I wanted to touch on a few things. Let's see. I'm starting college again. I said that in January, so I'm excited. It's a bigger university. It's something that I've always wanted to do, and I just didn't have the chance. And I finally feel like at my 40s, I'm going to be experiencing, what it feels like, to go to college. My kids are thriving. I have 3 wonderful kids, and all of them are such beautiful kids. My older one is in art school, which I love that we're both, on this journey. My younger daughter, she's in an Ivy League school, another bright soul. And then my son, he's just an 11-year-old, but like he's so mature, and I always get so many, compliments on how well behaved he is and what a wonderful young man he is. And really, I know my children are a reflection of me. I feel like even in the chaos that I grew up in and that I lived in for such a long time, I knew that the best thing that I could give my children, besides material things, I knew that was just hogwash in a sense. Like, that it didn't matter the amount of things I gave them. Like, if I could give them, 1, love, unconditional love, and 2, if I could give them access to an education, then that was something that no one could ever take away from them. And that obviously with a solid education, like a well-rounded education, not just academics, not just academically, I should say, but also, street smarts and spiritual smart. Like, I feel like that has really worked for me and my family, and I see it in them, and I see their light and the beautiful humans that they are in their own special, unique way. And I'm just so proud of that, because I think if anyone would have saw me or known me years ago, would have thought like, oh, she's a mess. Her kids are gonna be a mess. But I knew even in my own chaos that I wanted to provide them something better than what I had been provided. So I always made them my priority. And I think, yeah, for many years I stayed behind, so to speak, because I focused just on them, and I didn't work a lot. And so it was more like I was a single stay at home mom hustling on the side. So I I put them first always, and for me, I don't regret that one bit, because ultimately they didn't ask to be here, it was my responsibility. So I really took that seriously. And they're amazing children, all of them. All of my kids are amazing, and I'm just so proud of who they have become. And I'm proud that I knew, in a sense, what I was doing, even when I didn't know. And I'm proud of myself too. Like, I give myself props, because for a long time I was like, oh man, I can't give them this and I can't give them that, and I wish I could buy them this. And I realized, like, I look back at my own childhood, do I even have any of the things that, like, stuff that I had? Like, no. But had I had love, had I had guidance, had I had this, I feel like I would have gotten here faster. And so I feel like I did the best I can, and it worked out for me. Something else I wanted to talk to you about, I briefly, said about AI. I know some of us, even me, I was at the beginning, are resistant to AI, but AI is here, and it's here to stay. The arts, social media is a reflection of human consciousness. So just as human consciousness is reaching a new frontier, so AI is here to reflect that back to us. Just as we're also evolving to another octave. So AI is here, and it's here to stay. And the more you resist something, the more it persists. I feel like if you use it for the better, and you know, if we teach it correctly, I think it could be a really useful tool for humanity. Because honestly, this whole year I've been learning so much through ChatGPT, especially for my spiritual work. I've been learning so much. I synthesize books. Just things that that would take more time. Like, you have it that's why I say, like, you have it at your fingertips, and if you're ignorant, that's just because that's what you want. So I use every outlet that I can to just nourish myself with knowledge and more information and valuable information, not just I don't know, subpar, like, superficial, or things. Like, don't get me wrong, I still love my makeup, I still like to look pretty, and I like to look put together and whatnot, but it's just, that's not all there is. We are complete human beings, mind, body, and spirit, and we have to nourish all of them. And honestly, I feel like the spirit is the most important part, so everything else is just like, the cherry on top, I feel. So oh my God, I feel hot. I feel like I want to put my hair up. And I have a pen here. Oh, look at this. So, man, I didn't realize this is going to be so long. But, I mean, I guess it makes sense. So, yeah, I even went back dark with my hair. I enjoyed being blonde, but I fried my hair. I've done that many times. I am a licensed cosmetologist, so I do bleach my own hair and whatnot, but I always like push my hair to the next limits, because I have very stubborn hair that pulls more orange when I bleach it. So I fried my hair, which was also kind of indicative of what I was going through. Like, I literally, it was like the phoenix when the fire consumes it or whatever. I fried my hair, and hair is so meaningful for a woman, so yeah, I was at a stage where it was bad. And but I always know how to bring my hair back to life. Like, I know what I need to do. It's not my first rodeo, and I'm okay with it. At the end of the day, I'm like, it's just hair, it's going to grow. Luckily, I have very abundant hair, and it's thick, and when I give it love, it responds right back. So I went dark again, and I'm really enjoying just not having to do it with the roots. It's, yeah, you could still see some of the lightness there, but I feel like the blonde by now, as I'm, growing up, it was also washing me out, and I did have like blonde blindness for a minute, but I enjoyed it. So, it is what it is, whatever. Um Another thing I wanted to touch on briefly, let's see, I think I've touched on everything here. But just, I guess, one last thing that I wanted to touch on was celibacy. I know it's just so random, right? But I feel like after that whole heartache and heartbreak that I experienced, I decided to really just become hermit mode in every sense of the word, and just really focus on me and my self development and my self love, and just even keep my temple to myself. For many years, I would go from one relationship to another. It was of my own lack and my own abandon abandonment wounds that I had, that I wasn't seeing clearly, and that's why I kept going, because I guess I was always trying to find the love I didn't get at home from someone else. But no one else is responsible for that, and I get it now. I also made many mistakes where I sabotaged good relationships because it was so foreign to me, and I felt so undeserving of it that I would sabotage them. That's why it's so important to do your shadow work and your trauma release, because if not, it's going to keep translating into every relationship, and you're going to think like, why is this happening to me? But it's your own psyche trying to get you to heal your shit. And you're going to keep repeating certain loops and patterns until you figure yourself out. I luckily have a great friend who I love dearly, Angela, and she's a mental therapist. I remember about 12 years ago, I was like, why do I keep attracting the same type of person? And why do, I was in that victim mentality, which I have completely gone out of. I'm not a victim of life. That's just giving your power away, which of course in Miracles also talks about. But I was like, why me? Why me? And she's like, it's not them, it's you. And she said it so nonchalantly. Luckily, I was at a point where I was ready to hear it. I think a lot of times we don't want to hear it and we don't want to face the facts. But if you want true healing, you need to face yourself and you need to face the facts. Like, what is your role? How are you messing up here? How are you partaking in this? So she was like, it's you. And I was like, and so that was another big aha moment where I was like, shit, it's me. Like, I keep doing this, and so long you aren't doing your work and you're not figuring yourself out, you're going to keep repeating the same things. That's why it's so important to do your work, do your inner work. And I'm so adamant about that. And I love that I can share this with you, and that you can see truly, like, you can see my channel, you can see my growth, you can see where I've come from. When I first started filming YouTube, when I first started filming YouTube, I don't even think I'm going to edit this video. I really just wanted to just go out there, but bear with me. I was living in my grandmother's basement, and it was like a dungeon. It was so dark. There really wasn't any windows. And it was a reflection of my life, where I was at. Literally, like, that's what it, as within, so without. How you're living your life, everything in your exterior world, it has to do with how you're feeling inside. So I was in a basement. I just had my son. My relationship again was going down the drain, and just so many things. And I'm like, no way, like, this cannot be happening to me right now at 30 something. And I just felt like such a failure, and such a, like, I was just so disgusted with myself. I really, that was like the thick of me hating myself, where I was like, why is it the more I try, like, the more it just doesn't work for me? But I just kept repeating the same pattern. That's what it was. And so yeah, I was living in my grandma's basement, and I remember there was a point where there was like a bunch of ants, and my son was maybe like 2 or 3, and he sat like in a pile of ants. And that for me was like, that's it. Like, that's it. I'm done. Like, this is not, I'm done. I don't want to live here. Like, I need light. I need beauty. No, this is not it. Imagine me, like, at that point, had 3 kids living in my grandmother's basement with my partner. It was just the worst, like for me, that was just literal rock bottom. And that's when I just decided to take the reins of my life and to really shift. And it wasn't easy. It has taken me time, and I'm still here. But I feel like I finally arrived at a place where I feel complete in myself, where I feel like I've shed a lot of layers that are not me anymore, where I'm definitely not the same person that I was not even a year ago. And I feel so good. And I want to tell you that you are not condemned to your limiting beliefs, to your family lineage, to your family story, to your history. Nothing. Like, you are limitless, boundless, formless. Literally, you are capable of doing anything you set your mind to. It's all about this. That's why this is the most precious thing you have. Be careful. If you don't take anything else away, I hope it's this. Be careful with what you consume, not just with your stomach, but with your eyes, your ears, and all your senses. Really, your mind is your most precious asset. This is what I tell my kids all the time, and it really truly is. Like, please guard it. It's a garden in there. Whatever seeds you plant in there, they become your reality, even unconsciously. That's why it's so important. The music you listen to, the people you surround yourself with, your house, if it's organized, if it's not, like, everything matters for your psychological well-being. And even the way I've designed my life, if you see my last few videos, I have a garden now. I have plenty of sunshine here. I designed this space super colorful with dopamine decor. I did that obviously to rewire my mind. I need this because this is what makes me thrive. This is what makes me feel happy. It's a reflection of how I feel inside, versus to, if you would have known about how I was living in a basement, and that's only 12 years ago. Pretty sure if I stayed the road and I stayed focused, I could have done everything faster. But again, this is just part of my journey. And everybody's journey is different, but definitely that there's whatever reality you want to create, you can. And you can thrive from any situation. I don't care. Like, I feel like God wanted me to live this life so that I could definitely serve as a testament to what is possible. And anyways, I think I was talking about celibacy, right? Oh my God, I promise you I'm done. Just real quick on the celibacy part. I feel like celibacy was definitely what the doctor ordered, because it allowed me to also heal that part of me. I felt like I used to think that sex was a way to connect with people when I was feeling empty, but it really just, it wasn't that, like, then I ended up feeling used and whatnot. And so it was not conducive to my mental health. I think I become very more selective of who I share my temple with, because now that I realize who I am and where I come from, obviously I want to take care of my temple, and it's precious, and not anybody should have access to it. But also, I feel like we're in this culture where we're hypersexualized from very young. I mean, now if you look at Nickelodeon, and like, you see with your eyes, like, all these shows that have like these hidden sexual messages in there, like, especially Nickelodeon and things, like, I just feel like we've been hypersexualized, because if we live only from our root chakra and our lower instincts, we're much easier to control, because we're constantly seeking pleasure and desire. Once we transcend that, and we live more from a heart-centered space, then we realize that that's not the place to be. That's not it. So for me, that's also been really healing. So conscious breathing, cold plunging, celibacy have just been chef's kiss for me. and maybe it's something you would want to try and see, how you feel. And if you're at a point where maybe you feel like you need a drastic change, try it. So I think it's everything that I wanted to share. I hope this video translates. I just, like I said, it's a brain dump vlog, and I just kind of wanted to share my heart and a little bit what has been happening. And I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for being here. I love you, and remember, fly free. Bye.